Last week when I saw you, we made these watercolor papers where we laid our squares down and we sprayed the watercolor over the top of it, and we ended up with these different squares on our paper. So now what we're going to need to do today is make these into our three-dimensional cubes. So you're going to need to start with a pencil. We're going to eventually go with an ink pen, but then don't forget, you also need to make sure that you have your ruler. So to get started, just choose a place to have your vanishing point. It doesn't have to be on a horizon line because we'd eventually erase them, but just choose one place that you would like to make as your vanishing point. Once you have that made, then we're going to get to start to draw our lines going back to that vanishing point. So if I'm started with my first square here, I'd have to kind of remember that I'd have to start with my square, and notice I'm holding my ruler with my L to lock it in place, and I would just go and draw that square to get started. Once I have my square drawn, then I have to take the corners that I can back to that vanishing point. So I'd go from my vanishing point to that corner, and I would draw my line. I would get to come over here, and I'd go from my vanishing point to my corner, and I'd draw my line. Now this one's going to be really tricky with where I put my vanishing point, because I'm going to have a super skinny side right there. It's still there, and I have to draw it. So I go ahead and make that mark. Then remember, we have to make those boxes end. So I can lay my ruler down, and I can slide it back so that I have those parallel lines. Then I can come over here, lay my ruler down, slide it back. It's going to be really small, but there would be my parallel lines. Now, once I have that done, I can come in here and I can erase those extra lines, those lines that I don't need anymore. So remember how we said draw light till you have it right? You want to make sure that you do that on every single one of your boxes. So then once I have that one done, I can come in here and I can do the same thing with my next box. Draw my square out, and then I take the corners that I can back to that same vanishing point. So I'm going to take this corner back to the vanishing point. This corner right here would go back to the vanishing point, and you'll notice that I would have to draw like into my other square. So even though I have it lined up with my vanishing point, I'm still just going to stop at that box. I don't have to draw all the way through the box just to erase it, because I've made sure that I have my corner and my vanishing point lined up. Once I have that done, I can lay my ruler down and I can decide how far back I want it to go. Or maybe if I come all the way back here, it'll almost look like the other box is overlapping it or covering up part of it. So we'll just keep going all of your boxes the same way. Draw the square, go back to the vanishing point. Draw the square, go back to the vanishing point. Now once I have all of my boxes drawn out with my pencil, then I have to start in with my pen and ink. And so I have to think about that light, medium, and dark side. So again, I get to start to decide whatever types of marks I might want to make. So I would start on my outside box here. I want to make all my lines ink, so I would outline that box again. And then if I wanted to do like straight up and down lines, just plain straight lines, and I have my light box, I would just come in here and I would make a couple lines that are just straight up and down. And you'll notice that I'm using my ruler so that those lines are really nice and precise. That's the thing about pen and ink. Pen and ink is very much about details and making things look really nice by making really nice lines. So then, if that's going to be my light side, I just have a couple marks. Then remember, when I go to my dark side or my medium side, I would just make a couple more marks so that they're closer together. So I can come in here and I can decide if I think that looks dark enough. If I don't, I just come back in here and I can add in some lines where I think I want a few more. Okay, If I feel like that's pretty good, then I can move on to my dark side. Now this is going to be pretty tricky because I have just that little tiny skinny place. But I just use my ruler. And I would make my dark side. So that one's kind of hard to see, but I still have my light, my medium, and my dark side. So then I would just get to move over to my next box, and I would do the same thing. Now, I have to think about my light source. If I have my light shining right on the front of my box, and the front of my first box is my light side, the front of all of my boxes should be my light side. If the front of my box is my dark side, then the front of all of my boxes can be my dark side. Once I have it outlined, and on this one I only have 2 sides, so I might do light and medium, I do medium and dark, it's up to me. So I have my light side, and maybe this one I'm just going to do those squiggly lines. Okay, so if that's my light, then when I come in here, I get to make my medium, just making more of those marks. Again, I have to be really nice and precise and neat. And you'll just keep going, doing light, medium, and dark on all your sides.